Hi, my name is Rodney Thomas Whitaker, and I play the double bass. In jazz, we have this tradition of the double bass, which has great bass players like Ray Brown, Paul Chambers, Sam Jones, Jimmy Blanton, and I'm out of that tradition. I grew up in a city called Detroit, Michigan. It's famous for making automobiles and Motown. But it's also a city that's famous for jazz. And I grew up in jazz culture. So I hung around older jazz musicians, I went to the clubs, and I learned from them. The music is about mentorship and tradition, and it's handed down from generation to generation, and that's how it's done.
Well, hello, this is Ron Carter. I'm Director of Jazz Studies at Northern Illinois University. I also work for Jazz and Lincoln Center in New York. We try to pass on that this music is related to the culture that came through the West African tradition by way of New Orleans, by way of Chicago, by the way of New York, and it's just spread all over the world. And we just want to spread that love of dance and of swing and of soul and heart and all those things that we pride so much here at Jazz and Lincoln Center. When we talk about groove, in the sense that we talk about it here, we talk about how does this music make you want to get up and get your dance on? What makes it make you want to move? A lot of people try to make jazz just a mental reaction, but it really is a physical reaction to the music as well. Jazz and all the derivatives of jazz are based on a West African tradition of complex rhythms, polyrhythms, how rhythms react with each other.
Like Dr. Carter was saying to you guys, in the West African tradition, we have groove, but it also means swing. And groove and swing is the same. And when we think of the word groove, we usually think about the Latin groove or funk groove. But all the music has to groove, whether you're swinging, whether you're playing a Latin rhythm, they all have to groove. But the reality of it is that to swing, the music grooves so hard and it makes you want to sway side to side and swing. And that's where that comes from. I was always exploring and reading about jazz. I fell in love with the music. And I remember finding a book about jazz, and in that book, it had an interview with the great rhythm guitarist, Freddie Green, who is probably the groover. In fact, he grooved the Bassies band with just his rhythm guitar. And one of the things that he talked about was the origin of the word groove. The origin of the word groove comes from woodwork. And if you ever have done woodwork, you have to have parts that fit together. When you take, for example, like the end of a table, it has to work together. And when those two things come together, like, for example, you have the walking bass, so you got the walking bass and then you have the drums. They have to fit together. And when they come together, the music grooves. So that's the origin of the word groove.
I think groove goes back to the same thing we just said. The groove is what makes you want to move. I think that's really what's so important about jazz, that when you listen to it, it makes you want to react. And it's a physical reaction.